And I'm seeing a quorum too, so I think we're okay to get started. And as more folks join us, we will keep going. So thanks everybody for meeting. This will be our fourth meeting of the year. I appreciate you all coming in person, and those of you following will do introductions here in just a moment. But I think for the most part, everybody knows each other here. We're going to spend, we did not have a guest speaker today. I was trying to look at someone on the kind of medical space side, but we will get into those topics maybe in our next meeting. But we do want to spend a fair amount of time going through the annual report, any updates, changes, and go ahead and if we're all comfortable, we'll go for approval and we'll walk through that process when we get there. So since we won't see each other for daylight savings time and turning our clocks back, I thought a safety message this morning would be just as you get to that, which is in early November, it's a good time to also go ahead and check the rest of critical kind of emergency response equipment in your house, like smoke detector batteries and other carbon monoxide and things that are safety devices in your home that run on batteries. It's a good time to monitor to go ahead and change those out. So as you turn your clocks back, we'll be doing that as well. So everything home is protected. And with that, I think we will quickly just, I think for the record, we'll go around the room and then to the virtual and introduce each other. So, Bill, if you want to start.
Okay, Bill Briscoe, George Washington University.
Virginia Commonwealth University.
Jeff Oxton, Virginia. Tim Steller, Virginia Economic Development Partnership.
Tom DeMonte of Fremco.
Amy Wade, Virginia Consortium.
John Katz, Virginia Community Colleges.
Andrew Hutton, Jefferson Lab.
Scott Copple, BWXT.
Dean Braycheck, American Nuclear Society.
Lloyd Corky, Virginia Department of Energy.
Brandy Fisher Baskovich, Virginia Energy.
Ryan Walsh, Virginia Energy. Mike Lattimore, Virginia Energy.
And David, you want to go ahead?
Sure, David Essa with the Virginia State Corporation Commission.
What else do we have up there, Ryan? Sorry.
Ronnie Smith is on.
Oh yeah, Ron, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Ronnie Smith's here. Thank you.
And then Tara from.
Oh yeah, and Tara, sorry, do you want to introduce yourself? Okay.
That is one of our colleagues at Virginia.
Great. Okay. So like I said, we'll get into the annual report. Ryan, do you have the ability to share the draft?
Do you want your draft or do you want this draft?
You could do mine since on Friday I sent some additions, some changes to Ryan, so we can look at those and review them. But I also like to open it up to the group for comments, edits, additions, changes, anything for the annual report. This is slightly, I would say, slimmed down from our previous versions to be more direct to the activities of the year, as we I think talked about last year. That was one of the changes we made, so we're not repeating information that's been in past reports. That's kind of in the archives. So this is really focused on the strategy and any recommendations and activities for the authority for the year. And then I will, after we go through kind of our portion of the report, I'll turn over to April for updates on, kind of walking through the VNEC update as well that we'll do.
I can make that bigger if I need to.
So yeah, this will allow us, if we have other edits, we can make these in real time, and then Ryan and the Virginia Energy staff can incorporate all these into the final draft that we can vote on. Changes and the final version of what we did today. Ryan, do we want to walk through my changes, the ones that I sent first, so folks can see them, and then we can also add others.
I think so. And I'm just gonna let you drive and I'll scroll, because
Okay, yeah, so I think, or do you still have the track changes in there, or was it just?
when I am.
Yeah, there we go, okay, I just want to make sure I didn't miss anywhere.
Is there any way to make that larger?
Of course.
Probably acknowledge that message box up there.
No, that is me. Jeez Louise, every time. I can try and dim the lights as well.
And Ryan, I may have you since it's hard for me to read this from back here, so you can read the text, I can give you the commentary though, but, the first change I had there was, Ryan, if you want to read it, it was focused on how we had an increasing role in the meetings this year with, coordination with Energy Delta Lab, where we had, Will Payne, join us, as a regular entity on the agenda.
The first added bullet is expanding the coordination and information exchange with other key Virginia stakeholder groups, including regular briefing opportunities with Energy Delta Lab leadership.
Thought this was consistent with kind of the energy plan and the focus on Southwest Virginia and incorporating those inputs. Can you read that one again, Ryan?
Expanding,
Go ahead.
expanding the coordination and information exchange.
No, sorry, the final vote. We can go ahead, if it's okay with everybody, we can read these, then we can take this section one by one if we're approved or have any other changes, if that works. So this was, we talked about how we provide updates on what's going on kind of in other states. I think one thing that's been an interesting activity both for the authority and the consortium is this body this year specifically has been looked at as an example for other states. And I know I've had three conversations with folks in Kentucky, West Virginia, and Idaho. I know April's had multiple conversations as in her capacity on the consortium with states that are looking to do exactly what Virginia has been doing. So that was just trying to capture that activity throughout the year and kind of influence of the authority. Any other comments or changes on the authority meeting activities? We'll get to the asset inventory when we actually look at that list. Later on. Anything, Ronnie or David, on the phone that you guys had or on the Zoom?
No, nothing further from me. Thanks.
No, I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, if we want to keep scrolling down. So this was just adding a little bit more to Braden's presentation specifically to identify that he had highlighted the Spark Virginia events that are being held around the Commonwealth for participations from many organizations as part of the authority. And this was just adding a little bit more to Christine's presentation about the current activities, the collaboration that is available for the authority with GAIN. Just trying to flag things that would be relevant, I think, especially to the General Assembly members that may look at this. Obviously, the Governor's Office has regular updates. And then this was just updating a little bit more on what what Simon shared with us during our last meeting on the polling and the parties that participated in that study. Any other comments or changes on the presentations? No?
Created a typo the first one.
Yes, please.
The invitations for organizations to participate, is it participated?
Yep. Perfect. Thank you. Alright. I think those were the main areas of comment that I had, and then just some changes to the way we list the appendixes, or the appendices, excuse me, towards the end with the order, just so we know which order we're putting in the VNEC update. And authority members. Did folks have other comments, additions, questions?
Yeah, on the last page, the one that says appendix B. So right there in that paragraph, it said that the consortium was formally launched in 2015 and now has been in operation for over 3 years. Is there some significance to the 3 years? Because it's been a lot more than 3 years.
Well, it's 8, but,
Right. So,
yeah, it's 8 years.
yeah, okay.
But that is technically when we did officially launch, when we get some changes in the law, we won't, even though legislation passed in 2013, we won't up and operating.
Yeah. No, I'm good with the date. I just was wondering if there was some significance that, you know, the law said that if you were able to last 3 years, you were good or something.
Well, you passed that.
Yeah, I guess
You just gotta get it past the 10.
So it was correct the way it was written?
No, it needs to be for over 8 years.
Okay.
I think that's just.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, that's good. April, do you want to go over, everybody has in their packet, the VNEX 2023 report. We're not commenting or changing this because this is the consortium's report, but April, we kind of want to go over what the.
It's pretty similar to what we kind of done the last couple of years, just kind of give a brief overview of our activities. The only thing I do need to go back and add something about our Southwest coordination and in the MITs and I decided all the legislation that we were involved with this past session. And then the big thing is, you know, looking at what we're going to do and being prepared for next year because 2024, we have to update the strategic plan again. You see that I just did that yesterday, but we have to update it this year. So it's just a brief overview of what activities we've done.
Can I ask you a question about membership?
You got anything else?
Yes, I think that's been a great thing that's happened this year for the consortium. I'm wondering if it's worth saying anything about new members or indicating folks that joined this year or anything. I did say
Yeah,
question.
no, that's fine, that's fair. We added X-Energy as a new member, Fulltech as a new member this year, New Skills last year. Those are the 2 new ones this year. Everything else was the same as last year. Virgo came in at the end of last year. Those are the 2 new ones. And we may get a couple more this year, and there was one out there. But I will tell you, we had talked as a board that we are going to have a conversation as we bring in new members. You know, we've grown quite a lot. 8 to 14 is a little different now, and so we are going to do a little bit more communication and make sure that everybody that's coming on board fits on. And right now, everybody does. I just want to make sure we maintain, because we have gotten requests from a lot of organizations to join. And there's a couple that we have. For instance, I think Fusion is great. I just don't think Fusion is our mission right now to have as members.
So statement that the number of participants has gone from 8 to 14 since the beginning of the school.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost doubled, right? So, and what would you say, last 2 years?
Yeah, the last 2 years, it's almost, well, actually, the last year, it's really, you all came back, Curio came on,
Yeah, Appalachian Power.
Appalachian Power came on last year, and Newsville, and Xfinity, and Forecast.
I think it might be worthwhile to say something about that, because I think that's significant, the fact that it's almost doubled in the last, let's say, 18 months.
I can add that.
I think that's,
I can add
that shows increasing interest in the topic, in the.
Yeah, and I don't go into this more, but I mentioned that there's calls, but I think more calls, even looking at trying to coordinate with other schools and our activities together, so we're not all divided into North Carolina, Tennessee is now conversations, so we're really branching out into states trying to work together a little bit more and more for our activities.
Any questions on the VNAC motion?
Just for slight detail, what is the status of the hub?
So, we're going to get there.
We're gonna get there in the
Yeah,
VNAC,
okay.
update, that's gonna be, yeah.
Just, only because it was mentioned, and maybe this is already our plan, but I think our Q1 meeting next year, we should include the strategic plan on the agenda. So obviously, hopefully it's more updating than rewriting, but a lot has happened since.
I think you're good.
So I just think from a work standpoint, so it's not July, and we're starting to go, it's time to update, let's tackle that, or begin to tackle that. You know,
Yeah.
beginning of the year, is all I'm saying.
I think, on the strategic plan, you're definitely right. I think it's a lot more rewriting. We're in a different place than I think we were 4 years ago. Some of it's gonna be updated, but, we probably, hopefully we'll have the meeting kind of start the conversation, and we'll see what we can do. I will have a bigger meeting till right after the legislature. I don't think I can do both
That's
at the same time, but it is definitely on the radar to make sure we have a lot of good conversations about it going into this next phase that people are going to be.
even more of a reason than to start early, and just a living document.
Yes.
So we're not scrambling.
Well,
Get people thinking, is my point, get everyone around the table really thinking about
And I'm
what
probably
needs to change.
a little slower because we did it during COVID, and it was a lot easier to get a hold of during COVID, so it's gonna take a lot more planning and getting people, and it's gonna be some of the conversations everybody's gonna have to be in the room to have this conversation. Virtual is not gonna do it.
So maybe, it's a good note, Ryan, I just put down, but I think in our Q1 meeting, we should review what was, we can send out the strategic plan that we had, and then maybe it's not, starting to brainstorm updates, but it's more of a roadmap of how it gets done, and we can talk about it.
I think it'd be nice at that first meeting if people who come, again, Ryan can send it out, and thinking about what are the big things, then nothing has to be written at that point, but just get people's mind.
And it also would help me if you all would provide some feedback on April, we need to make sure we have X included.
Section on this, or
Yeah.
this doesn't apply anymore.
Exactly.
Agreed.
Any of that guidance would be great.
Yeah. So aside. Okay. Any other comments on the annual report or the VNAC portion, and then we'll get to that. I think we just want to make sure we go through the asset of the charter. Okay, Ronnie or David, any other comments from you all on the WebEx on the annual report text or VNAC portion?
Nothing from me and no questions either. Thanks.
Thanks. Ronnie?
I'm fine. Thank you.
And I see Randy Heflin's joined us as well. Randy, we're just going over the annual report. Were there any changes or comments that you had to the draft that Brian had sent out?
No, thank you very much.
We actually need to vote on virtual participation.
Who do? Yeah, sorry, that's right. That's right, I forgot. Since we had a quorum, I forgot that. Okay, so. Do I have a motion do I need to, I forget the actual text.
If you just say to allow virtual participation by members, it's good enough for going forward.
I have a motion to allow virtual participation by authority members. Bill, second by Andrew. Okay. I think we need to do a roll call, right? You should just, so those ones, fine. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so unanimous approval. And we don't have any comments yet. All right. So I would like us to take a minute, if you haven't already, because I know Scott and I talked about this before, but we wanted to spend a little bit more time on the asset inventory to make sure that we're not missing stuff. I already have one, because my own company needs to be updated. But if folks can look not only at your own organization, but others that are on the inventory, if you see things that are either no longer relevant or you see that need to be updated in other fashions, where we take a minute here and just look at these, so making sure we have the most up to date list.
Oh, we're missing universities?
I think there's a university page, isn't there?
That's the copy of it.
Yeah, I thought there was a university.
Okay. I will share because there's certainly,
Because there's a research.
Who's in the,
There's a federal research that.
they may have misprinted.
Okay, yeah, because I remember.
there was an email with,
I will share my screen.
And maybe I just missed it, but should DNAC be listed as an asset?
I think it should now. I think when we created this, it was a little, so I'm wondering where we should.
Will it get you back?
Well, it was just, it was different.
Educational institutions.
We should put it into other.
And I'm going to email them. That was a misunderstanding on my part.
yeah, I usually just put it in myself, but, you know, the VP said.
Brian, can we add under other admin?
So like I obviously probably make changes to my company, that's simple, but I looked through some of this list and would it be helpful if we need a motion to ask the energy staff to go through sort of do a due diligence check on some of this? Because I'll be the first to admit I don't know every company here, you know, that's just in the supply chain, but I looked at like Dynaworks and I know they were, you know, acquired, for example, by Imagine something in the last few years.
On this page that's on the screen right now, I don't believe the Center for Advanced Engineering and Research is currently operational.
You're correct.
This is Ronnie. Just a question. Is Jefferson Lab, National Lab shown?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I didn't, there it is. I see it. Thank you.
Yeah, the hair one, that's a good one.
Okay, actually, under the utilities, we need to add AEP as / operation power.
I didn't hear that. On the utilities page,
Mm-hmm.
we need to add AEP slash Appalachian Power. That's the subsidiary. And they're, same as Dominion, kind of power generation, transmission.
The other asset I would add, under other, the Dominion Innovation Group, they should be added under other as well.
Yeah, Braden's, yeah.
And, Energy Delta.
Some of these data are rather old as well.
Yeah.
The revenue figures, going back to fiscal year 12.
Shell should have that big,
Right.
and not dated.
The numbers are probably much larger now than they were 10 years ago.
Ryan, I've got an update on Fairham's Home with a new CEO.
I just passed it.
April is Excel, Don Hoffman still a member of the consortium? So I don't think they ought to be listed here. They're the only
So
company
it's
that are out
Catherine
there.
Williams,
Right.
and it's KA.
Well, I think the question is, it was a question
TRI.
for,
Williams.
are they actually a Virginia company? And I don't believe,
I don't think they ever were. I think they're off.
Is everything else the same for you, Tom?
What's that?
Is the 1 billion and 2,300 about right?
Yes, that's all.
but I guess that's that question, if they do business here, I'm sure, so. I think
There's
that's,
lots of companies that do business.
yes, they're,
Yeah, I think that's right. Ryan, Excel services, we should take them off. So I'm not even sure how Don ended up as chair.
I have no idea, but
They're based in Maryland and they don't really have operations in Virginia.
they're doing a lot with the Maryland.
Ron and I, updates for BWXD. We changed the revenue to 2.23 billion, and that's calendar year 2022. 2.23.
Still 6,700.
7,000, so. Quite a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you.
But we do need to add Eureka. They actually do have an office here in Virginia.
where?
Arlington, they moved,
It's Eureka USA.
Yes, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
We don't have-
you're at USA.
Is the university stuff, do we need to go to that page so the universities can just make sure that the data is correct? I'll get you guys-
And I can zoom in more if I need to.
I checked it online.
Okay.
The other part of the other item included is the Virginia Energy Workforce Consortium. VWC.
Check that out before I remove it.
There's a lot of, is this where you start to get into, where you draw the line?
No, I'm just,
Yeah.
it came to mind because I was at 2 meetings last week, where the folks were involved, but it was.
There are some.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
Any others? for your motion.
Yeah, trying to think the right way to word it. I guess feel free to correct me on that, I guess. But I think I'd like to make a motion to direct the staff, Virginia Energy staff, to go through this list, perform a due diligence check.
Before we,
Yeah.
can we look at the universities real quick?
Yeah.
Because I think, I want to make sure the community college system is listed as well. It is.
Send some corrections.
Perfect.
So can I offer modifications?
Please.
So I think, Scott's offering a motion for, Virginia Energy staff to do due diligence check of the asset inventory for, the key information and, well, in one case specifically, the company's still under the same name. But just a due diligence check prior to, the asset inventory going into the, annual report. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Dean? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great. Brian, did you capture all that? Okay. All right, are there any other comments on any of the items in our materials in the annual report? So I think the plan will be, we'd like to, entertain a motion on approval of the annual report with revisions approved today.
Basically, to allow staff to do revisions as necessary as outlined by the board. And then submit it without having to like re-go through all
Right,
this
so
whole
the,
process.
so the process then is, staff will update, the drafts as we talked about today. It will be submitted to leadership at Virginia Energy, and then for submittal to the assembly and the governor, this fall. If there are any issues or significant changes that come back from, anybody in the review cycle at Virginia Energy, Ryan and I have already talked about that. We still have the option to do another, virtual meeting this year. We've only done one. So per the guidelines, we can come back together virtually if we need to, and vote on a, amended draft if there's significant changes. Don't anticipate there will be, but in the event, that there is, we'll schedule that. Okay. All right, so do I have a motion to approve the annual report with the changes, being made by Virginia Energy staff? So, John? Second?
Second.
Bill? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great. Everybody? All right, so speaking about April Electric.
Everybody hear me? Is this working? Okay. Well, I'm gonna start off a little differently. So earlier this month, myself, and a few others from the state were able to go to MIT for a 3-day course on, nuclear energy, which was really great. I want to put it out there, if you all have names that you would like me to submit for next year. The course is free, you have to pay for your travel and stuff, but it was very well worth it, very valuable to go to. So again, if there's names of people you all think would find useful, just let me know and I'll get them added to the list for next summer. This summer, the Then Hub organization got put aside for a month or so because we were focusing on the EDA Tech Hub that came out earlier this year. DNET participated in 2 applications. One is for planning that we partnered with the Lynchburg Regional Alliance, and then we are leading organization for a designation for a tech hub. And the tech hub region is basically Lynchburg to southwest. Both areas are basically, both proposals are that. They're just a little different. We just found, and why there's two proposals, we just found there was a lot of interest, so we just split it up that way. And it just makes sense. So both, we were supported Lynchburg was supported Waters, but they went for planning and we went for a destination. It should, if we get it, it should put us into a good place with partnering with FinHub on some federal funding and some projects. A lot of the stuff is, goals are very similar, especially on workforce development. But there is some emphasis on with data centers as well. So FinHub, the governor got a budget passed, although with funding, it's a less than what we thought earlier this year. It was $4 million. I'm not sure how that is breaking out to support FinHub yet, so as soon as I know, we'll let you all know, but that's still being worked out. We are close to being done with the governing documents. We do have our 501c. We just got a few more things that we, housekeeping things that we're working on, but Bob Bailey has been hired and he's been helping us get through this. So that is where that's at. We have a workforce working group. We've had one meeting, we're meeting again next week, trying to come together on some things that we want to make sure that we know what projects work, what's out there, what we need to, what companies can just support each other on, what legislation we need, just to coordinate together. We have probably over 20 people in the working group, so it's a good group, good conversation, and hopefully we'll be able to do some work with the Department of Education later this year as a group. They've asked us for some information to help support getting more information on working in the nuclear energy industry. Let's see. Virginia Clean Energy Summit is coming up next month. I think y'all remember about a year and a half ago, we did a virtual panel with them. There's actually going to be a panel this year on nuclear energy, so hopefully it'll be on Dana Center. It should be a good opportunity for us to get out in front of this group and really talk about what's going on with the industry right now. I'm pretty excited about that panel. It's been they have not usually included nuclear in their summit, so this is our first year being part of that. The strategic plan we talked about, we are working right now on preparing for the 2024 legislature. We're going to be meeting with legislators this fall and talking about where we're at as an industry and some of the things that we're going to want to be looking at doing during the legislature. Don't have specific bills put together yet, but we'll be having those in the next month or so put together. Let's see what else I have here. And then the working group, supply chain summit, looking at dates for November to put that together on. Waiting on one group to see if we can coordinate with and do it at the same time, but we should have dates for that later on this fall. And still coordinating activities with Southwest Virginia, so and doing panels across the state and talking about VNEC and the industry and our activities. Did I miss anything? Any questions?
One thing on the EDA Tech Hub, as April kind of alluded to or talked about, the three, I would say, focus areas of that proposal were largely around workforce for the future. That way, what are the needs to both launch and support the industry in Virginia, but also throughout the deployment of new reactors outside of Virginia. To go along with that, what's the kind of supply chain infrastructure needs and how that can be supported in Virginia with the look towards export out of the state. And then finally is more of an aspirational goal of how do you deploy the new things in the Commonwealth. And April alluded to that, with the support of data centers or other maybe non-traditional applications as well as traditional reactor deployments. So I think I will give April a lot of credit. It was not the easiest process, which it never is, but I think the final product, both that came from the proposal from the business that was led by the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance for the planning grant, as well as the larger designation proposal, the final products were actually very good, and I think we're in the state in a strong position to win those engagements. In the event that that happens, I would encourage, obviously there'll be, an update to the authority on the status, but I think there's opportunity for engagement from many of the members on this body in making it successful. There'll be a lot of activity that's needed, but then hopefully there'll be resources that can support that as well. But it's a good opportunity to continue to boost industry and the infrastructure in the state.
For the designation, we probably won't see anything from the EDA on approval till late November or December. But BNEC will start putting together a plan if we do get it and how we need to go forward and looking at hiring a consultant to help us through this next process.
Can you comment on the competitive landscape of the bids as you know it relative to other?
There's
outside of Virginia?
There's over 300 applications for EDA planning or designation. I don't know the breakdown between the two. I know probably, including our applications, there's probably 3 or 4 others regarding nuclear. I think Washington has one, North Carolina has one, and Tennessee.
The key thing on that though is none of those are in the region that Virginia is competing in, right? We're kind of in the, let's call it mid-Atlantic to the northeast. So from a energy type work, we're looking at our region, I think is fair to say.
Very, very sad. And we check off a lot of the boxes. So feel pretty good that we have a strong chance of getting one of them.
Thanks.
So for those of us that are in the room, could you explain designation?
Designation is really, it would be saying this area, you are a tech hub, will be a tech hub for the nuclear industry. And then with the planning, you put more thought into what that's actually going to look like. We need a little bit of funding, more funding. This puts us kind of straight away working designation. And I think it makes sense for what the work we've done with Bid Hub. We've done a lot of this already. I think we're pretty prepared to do it, but it will actually have that designation, it will have that, that badge.
So it means that's what it's going to be.
Yes. And I would have thought it would have been great if we could do this whole state, but there's some criteria we had to meet. Any questions?
All right. So then next is just the approval of the past minutes. The folks have reviewed those. I had one small comment on the public comments. We just had a difference in text size.
Yeah, I already fixed that.
Any other?
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I really was there.
Yes, you were actually.
This is about the 3rd time I've been left off. I noticed too, I blacked out in the screen too.
Maybe that was why, Bill.
You can sit up here with us.
I have noticed a red difference too. But
So on the front, on that sentence that says the following were there, so that's kind of probably, we shouldn't say were there because it sounds like it's somewhere else, so they were present, perhaps. But Tasha's last name, that word.
Yeah, I don't know if we had Tasha's last name.
It's on the
on the back.
On the back. Oh, there's the name.
Yes, then we should have that. And I would just say the following provided public comment on that. And you know they were. Anything else? Okay. So I have a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
So,
John, second by Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, I did have a comment.
Oh,
Sorry.
that's okay.
I missed it. So at the bottom where we have reference to Simon from last meeting, I noticed that all these titles got corrected in the annual report, but this is still the,
Yeah, I was gonna go back and fix that because it's a function of, this was printed before I had your edits. And so-
Yeah, I just want to recognize that he's one of,
Yeah.
leaders of potential energy because they're looking for this stuff.
all right, so you're just gonna make it consistent with the.
Mhm.
All right.
All right, do we have any member updates that we want to share? Scott?
Good morning.
As always.
In August, we announced we received an award from DOE and NSA to basically process, it'll come out to about 2 metric tons of helium, which is the advanced reactor community's clamoring for. So the first tranche, we probably several hundred kilograms in 2024, so it's not everything everyone needs, it's certainly not the two big ARDPs, we need about 20 metric tons between the two of them for their first course, but it's a start. So now I'll be Litchfield work for us.
Where's the material from?
Y12. So that's why it's an NSA contract. It's coming from their programs. So it's in all sorts of forms and enrichment levels. But it'll be usable HALU feedstock in our process.
Anything else? All right. There's a lot of nuclear news. If anyone wants to provide anything going on, but there's a lot of good news and different things going on. So we'll continue to share that as it comes out. Ryan will send that around. Feel free to provide anything you see to him. But there's a lot of good news and I think more to come. As Scott alluded to, there's plenty coming out of the federal government, Department of Energy, supposedly a larger request for proposals from the department coming out on HALU any day now. And many other things. So, is there any other updates that folks want to provide? So like I said, unless there's a need to, we will not meet again this year. Appreciate everybody's participation. I think we've had some very engaging meetings this year. We'll continue to invite speakers that are relevant and provide good context for our discussions. Our plan, I think, will be to try to meet in early 2024. Ryan will send some dates out for January. We will use that one again as our virtual meeting, if that's okay for everyone. It'll make it logistically easier. It will help us if there's any weather issues. We don't have to travel. And I think we will not only kind of set the stage for what's already happening or going to happen in the legislative session, we'll go over kind of the strategic plan. Please send that out. We'll have Ryan send that out beforehand so we can review and come to the meeting with our thoughts on what we would like to see in the next strategic plan. We'll go with that. And then the last thing is, if you have suggestions for speakers or folks you think would be useful for the group to hear from, please feel free to send those to Ryan or me, and we will go recruit them to come help. But otherwise, unless there's any updates from the group, I'll go to any public comment. Have any public comment? I don't think we have any members of the public on the phone. Okay. So, unless there's anything else, I appreciate everybody joining us, and we are adjourned.